All right, as we mentioned, hundreds of people gathered outside the Miami courthouse today where Trump pled not guilty. Fox's Griff Jenkins spoke to a few for us to find out why they came out.
I am here to support Mr. Trump because he's not guilty. This is a pure harassment.
It's an injustice. They're coming after him for no reason at all, just because he's running. Once he's out of the race, that's it. They win. He cannot drop out no matter what. This country is going downhill. If not for Donald Trump, this country's gone.
This is all bull. Since he went into the White House, I started with him, and they're afraid of him.
Do you think the other candidates should pledge to pardon Trump if he's convicted?
He ain't gonna be convicted because the people has the power in the United States.
I feel like he's getting a raw deal. He's probably the most investigated politician in the history of the United States, and they've always come up with nothing. So focus their energy on investigating the Biden family. And it seems like the Biden family and the Democrats can pretty much do whatever they want to, and they don't get the same kind of media scrutiny.
If President Trump is reelected, should he pardon the Biden family?
Hell no, he needs to go after him. This is corrupt. This is a corrupt administration. We've never seen such a corrupt administration. When we have people in the White House peddling influence for money, and we have the laptop from hell, and we have 33,000 emails that were deleted, acid wash, by Hillary Clinton, and she's allowed to walk free. No one does anything about it.
Well, the Biden crime family, they need to be, if they're convicted, they need to pay the price because they actually been taking money and they've been bribed. It's pay for play and they have sold out America.
If Trump gets reelected, should he pardon the Biden family?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's two tiers of justice in this country right now, and it's ridiculous. So, Trump 2024, let's go, baby.
Thank you, Griff, for giving us that. That was cool. Now, while Americans are not afraid to stand up and say what they really think about this indictment, many of the establishment GOPers are just staying oddly silent. They think that by doing that and letting Biden do whatever he wants with the executive branch, that they're protecting the national security agencies. But they are not. They're simply allowing those agencies to become more and more discredited in the eyes of the public. Every Republican senator who wants to have a strong FBI should be furious with what the Biden administration is doing because its actions are weakening a vital U.S. institution, and thus they're endangering the United States. One senator is giving it right back to the Democrats. Ohio's J.D. Vance today threatened to block all of Biden's judicial nominees until Merrick Garland stops using his agencies to harass Joe Biden's political opponents. Senator Vance joins me now. Senator, any other your colleagues going to join your effort?
You know, I think a few of my colleagues will. A few of my colleagues are already pretty actively pushing back against Joe Biden's Department of Justice. But here's the crazy thing here is we actually have some authority and we can use it to do something good for the American people. What so many senators, I think, are terrified of doing is using the constitutional authority the American people have given us. The political appointees of the Department of Justice, the way to look at them is foot soldiers for turning the DOJ into political activism instead of actively doing the job of enforcing the law. Why should we be giving Joe Biden more foot soldiers when he's using them to attack his political opponents and conservatives all across the country? It's insane.
No, CNN, not surprisingly, went after your announcement today. Watch this.
There's a supporter just doubling down. We are seeing, not just from Donald Trump, Republican senators undermining the Justice Department and rule of law.
So it's not the fact that they are applying justice unequally. It's you, by actually using your constitutionally authorized, position to say, no. You have to give us information or we're not going to comply.
That's exactly right. I'm undermining the rule of law by doing the job of a United States senator. It's totally insane. I think one of these people actually accused me of obstructing justice myself by actually going after the politically motivated appointees here. But, Laura, this is insane here. It's the president's constitutional prerogative to declassify or classify whatever documents he wishes. The idea that Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton, before Joe Biden ever became president, get to mishandle classified information, face no consequences, and Joe Biden gets away scot-free, and Donald Trump is going to be put in prison for the rest of his life. That's what they're trying to do for declassifying documents as he has the constitutional authority to do. It's crazy. And we cannot continue to give the Department of Justice free rein to set themselves loose on the American people. Unlimited funding, unlimited resources, and unlimited personnel. We can, as a U.S. Senate, effectively grind the appointments process in Merrick Garland's Department of Justice to a halt. Why don't we do it? The American people, I think, expect it of us.
Do you think your colleagues in leadership who are more establishment types, do they understand that 81% of Republicans think this indictment is politically motivated? Are they aware of where the political winds have shifted in the GOP? Or are they just going like it's, 2004 all over again?
I think they're aware of it, Laura, but they're so caught up in the D.C. media environment that they don't remember the implications of this. If we sort of step back and think of the Trump presidency, every single alleged scandal, there was this initial rush of news, and then it turned out, when you look at the details, it wasn't nearly as bad as the D.C. press corps would lead us to believe. I think they need to remember here that all of the sensationalism around this indictment, we're going to learn the truth, and I suspect the truth is not going to be nearly as bad as it's reported on CNN the day after the indictment.
What's happened to the public's trust in institutions is, I think, far more significant than a bunch of documents being kept sloppily in a bathroom. We now have the American people, at least half the country, believing they can't trust the FBI, the Justice Department. How significant is that? And again, do your Republican colleagues realize what this indictment is going to do to that?
It's hugely significant. And this is the argument I make. Look, I've endorsed Donald Trump, but I would make this argument to people who are not going to support Donald Trump. This is really not about who was president. It's about the office of the presidency itself. Do you use that office to harass your political opponents, or do you use that office to enforce the law? What we're seeing here is such selective enforcement that you're absolutely right. It's going to destroy the people's faith in equal administration of the law. If you have Democrats facing one set of principles and Republicans facing the harshest application of the law, then you're going to eliminate people's faith that the law is about what you do and whether you do it the right way and not about politics.
Military? Who's going to sign up for that military?
That's exactly right. Why are you going to sign up for a military that is applying justice unequally? Why are you going to send your kids to law school? Why are you going to pay your taxes? The entire foundation of this country is that whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, we all face the same justice system. Joe Biden's Department of Justice is going to war against that principle. They're going to break the country unless we stop it.
J.D. Vance, great to see you as always. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.